Hi, this is Rukazes, and we are very pleased to welcome back our repeat guest, Bas Westerbaan. Bas, I think you have the record at this point for the guest for the most episodes, and I can't imagine anyone who deserves it more. And we're so happy to have you back again. Within the last month of certainly of recording time, you guys at Cloudflare made kind of an important announcement about PQC. What was that?
So I always thought, I've been working on this now I've been following the whole PQ space since even before I worked professionally in it. So it must be more than 10 years now. And I've always thought, somewhere after 2035. So this has been.
Yeah.
Where was mine?
This is Q Day. This is when we need to be. Yeah.
When do we need to be ready? Somewhere after 2035. And this is how I've been planning my work. What things to attack. What to prioritize. Harvest now, decrypt later, and then. Just in January, I noticed that folks are getting a bit antsy. Something has happened. I hear rumors here and there. And then just how many weeks ago is this now? It's start of April, right?
Right.
I mean, it came
Beginning
out.
of April.
Sorry?
No, go ahead.
It's been the weeks have been a bit of a blur for me, so I'm completely lost where we are now. We see what happened. So there's progress on quantum computing. Things are going faster than we expect, and that means that I'll get to the punchline now. To be comfortable, we are targeting Cloudflare to be fully post-quantum secure by 2029. So that's
by 2029. That means by January 31st, 2029, presumably. By the end of 2029.
I hope earlier.
Okay. Now, we had this pair of dates from NIST, right? There was 2030 and 2035, and the difference between the two was always a little unclear. But certainly to have a full, utter migration by the end of 2029 is well ahead of either of those dates any way you slice it, right?
Yes.
And so that's important, and obviously Cloudflare transports so much of what's going around the world that's very, very significant and meaningful. What does this mean if I'm not at Cloudflare? If I'm an IT practitioner somewhere else, what should I be taking away from this? Should I be thinking that I need to do the same thing? You guys announced this publicly. There was a reason for that. What should the rest of us take away?
Well, are you a gambler?
Okay.
It's a bit hard to put numbers to it with certainty, right? Because the thing is what. So the question we asked ourselves is, what would be definitive proof that a quantum computer would be here soon? And that means that they solve some engineering problems. There are multiple approaches, and each have their different engineering problems. If they show that they solve the engineering problems, well, I don't think it's 3 years away then, right? If there's a demonstration that they solved other problems, then it's maybe next year or a year or two, tops, right? So there's still a bit of uncertainty. And let me just put a number on it. Let's say it's 10% by 2030. That's basically roughly where our mind is at. That it could be in 2030 a cryptographically relevant quantum computer by 2030.
Okay.
Is that comfortable? No. Do we want to take that risk? Hell no. Yeah. So we want to get done by 2099.
And Google, not Chrome, but the whole company of Google, made a similar announcement very close to yours, just within days of each other. Is how did that come about?
So we work a lot with Google, right? They have been very, very tight-lipped, but it was clear that they were getting nervous about something already somewhere in January. So
Yeah.
we kind of got the hint that something was going on, and you could also see.
So the same drivers caused both companies to come to the same conclusion.
So
Is that
when
fair?
So when the two things came out, I mean, we can talk about the actual advances that
Sure.
are so scary.
Please do.
When these came out, it was like, so that was it. What Google was actually worried about, um, and so we took the same decision. But we already
So it's a short period of time between when those two discoveries became public, the one about the 10,000 qubits and the one about the ECC attack, and when you guys made your announcement. I think it was less than 2 weeks, if I recall correctly. Was that just a hurry up decision at Cloudflare to get that done so fast, or?
Yeah, we didn't have the details, but we knew something was going on, so we are already contingency planning, right? It's hard to get a decision very quickly, but I mean, once you have everybody ready about the fact that this can happen, decisions can be made quickly, right? So that was it.
Bas, I've spent the last 2 weeks in Europe talking to some customers over there, talking to people who are really like smart practitioners. They don't exist in the theoretical world. They exist in the, I have risk and I'm trying to mitigate my risk, and I have a very murky landscape, and I was told 2030 and the Europeans tell me 2035, and I had to be there telling this story to them. And here is what I'm hearing back, Bas, because I'd like you to respond to these types of people, which is they've got 100 other things on their plate. A lot of them, for a longest time, thought of quantum computing as a boogeyman that just would never happen. Never. And it's taken them a long time to come around. And I will tell you that the scientists, people who, the academics, like where your heart really is, Bas, if you were to say these things, they probably would dismiss it. What made them change their mind was the guidance NIST and the European, equivalent and the UK equivalent. That's what made them move and change. It wasn't the scientific community saying, hey, we've got a problem here. We have a real, or even the engineering community saying, hey, we're figuring out how to actually build a cryptographically relevant quantum computer. So these kinds of people are looking at a date like 2029, and they're starting to be like, wow, I was hedging my bet on the fact that this was just magic that is like, it was never going to happen. Right. And now it not only is it going to happen, but it's going to happen fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when things change, you have to change with them, right? I mean, it hurts, but that's the fact of life. I mean, that's the thing. There's a few points you made which is very valid, where I want to touch upon. So I think the first is in a way the effect of Q-Day is nothing new, right? We have data leaks all the time, right? All the time we hear about people getting access to systems. This is the bread and butter of security teams. They think about what happens if data leak, what happens if people get missing. They assume systems are compromised, right? They are very reactive. They're very just in time. Okay, you say there's a security problem. Well, show me the POC or it didn't happen, right? It's very just in time, and I understand that is the right calibration for the background radiation of security issues, right? But that's not what Q-Day is going to be like. I mean, we already see the hurt we have with Mythos now. That's just a preview of Q-Day. Mythos is dialing up the amount of experts that are coming in. But at least with Mythos, it can only find the vulnerabilities that were already there, right? Mythos is not going to find something in a system that has been drained of security problems. But with QA, I mean, if you haven't upgraded to PQC, it's going to be vulnerable. It's going to be vulnerable all at once. And that's the big problem. You can't do this just in time.
Tell me if this analogy works, Bas. In terms of Mythos is the perfect topic to bring back up, because when you have an automated system that can basically saturate any concept of vulnerability. In other words, if the vulnerability is there, it will be found, right? It's the way you have to start thinking with Mythos, which is incredible. I mean, we've never had to think like that before. But PQC's far worse, because what it means is all the locks on your doors are now open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the scale of that will be much higher than Mythos, right? I mean, it's true. All software contains bugs, but I mean, software contains more cryptography than it contains bugs.
Yes. Let's hope.
I mean,
that's
true.
that. Yeah, and that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. Never mind. Yeah, no, thank you, Bas. That's really important.
So, Bas, if you're responding to objections, here's another one that I sometimes hear, which goes, all right, all this is well and good, but I'm not a major global bank. I'm not a major government entity. I'm just a 1,000-employee company that does boring 1,000-employee stuff. And a state-sponsored actor is not going to be going after me anytime soon. So I understand why Cloudflare needs this by 2029, but I don't think that applies to me. What's your response to that?
You might be surprised by my answer here. But
Okay.
I think actually that way of thinking is good, right? What you have to do, I mean, I don't want to be defeatist, but I think it's good to instead of thinking, I need to upgrade everything, it's important to sit down. Instead of thinking, I need to upgrade everything, I need to find out everywhere where cryptography is used, it's good to just sit down, accept, just sit down and assume there is one today, right? What's the worst that could happen? And that's actually an excellent exercise to do, because top down you think about what's the actual business impact. What are the things that, I mean, it hurts for me because I mean we're all cryptography lovers here, but I mean not everything needs to be solved by cryptography, right? Some things, or for instance, I mean credit cards, they are in a way. We know in the way in which they are insecure, and we have all kinds of mitigating measures to pick up on the fraud there. So also with passports, I think when people are checking passports, most of the time they don't even check the cryptography on the passport itself, right? It has other measures to do it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is the end of cryptography, but you have to really start at where is the biggest impact to a business, what's the worst things. And then it's important to think not just about where you, in your own systems use cryptography, but also your critical suppliers. Like, do you want to have all your money at one bank? Maybe better. I mean, let's hope that the interbank systems survives and not all banks.
You'd hope.
They're actually quite most banks actually quite ahead of this, and from what I hear, they will get things sorted in time actually. But yeah, I think it's important to.
So I as a CISO or a CIO might say, you know what, I'm going to put my own systems into tranches, my own environments, and say this is the essential stuff. This is the existential threat, and I'm going to make sure that's done. And then this other stuff, yeah, it still sucks if someone gets in it, but it's not going to make my company stop existing, and I'll do that second. Okay, it's reasonable.
So, but I'm going to put a word to it, because we have to call a spade, which is, we've said this before on this podcast, Tim. Let's see how Bas responds to it. What you're saying, I think, is we're going to have very large tranches of systems that are categorized as operational but insecure. And that's not a world that we ever lived in the past. We've always lived in a world where we kind of felt like we put our arms around everything.
We probably did, honestly, but yeah.
But when I'm out in the field, well, like us three know that. But when I'm out in the field talking to people who do this for a living, they really do have it in their heads that their endpoint systems and monitoring systems and all these things are actually doing something. We all know that the front door and the back door are open now, right? And Bas, I love the way you put it at the beginning, and I'm going to bring it up right here at the end, which is, are you a gambler? That's what it comes down to. Well, we had Professor Mosca on this podcast say exactly the same thing with respect to Q-Day, which is, do you want to get to 2030 and not have done anything yet? And is that a good place to be? Well, it really comes down to gambling. That's simply a risk gamble. And there are some people who are risk averse, and there are some people who probably could handle, a certain amount of risk because maybe they are an underdog. But we have to accept being an underdog and accepting the fact that, hey, maybe, I'm not a global bank, so therefore I'm not a target, doesn't mean that people aren't walking through your front and back doors and unbeknownst to you. And that's just the way the world's going to be for a while. And that's a crazy, wild thing that we're facing.
Absolutely mind blowing.
2026 is crazy, and it's only April, right?
Hey. And it's accelerating. I remember thinking 2025 was nuts, and 2026 is we're gonna look back upon 2025 with fondness for how quiet it was.
I was so calm.
27 is probably gonna be worse. Yes.
Tim, I only heard one thing out of this podcast, Tim. I only heard one thing. This is my takeaway.
What was that?
Bas Westerbaan said, put your money in multiple banks.
That's right. Blah, 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 blah. Put your money in multiple banks. Blah, blah, blah. That's what I heard as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bas. Always a pleasure.
Great to be here.